Real Enigmas and Theories is back again with another video. I want to start this video off by asking a question. Would you yourself get the severance procedure? Whether it's for work or to have a baby or to shut down your brain from any task that you wouldn't mind just turning off for, please let me know in the comments. And if you're comfortable sharing your reasons for whether yes or no, that'll be dope too. I'm asking the question because since the first episode of Severance, I've asked myself this, like I'm sure many of you have. But Severance Season 2, Episode 4 really puts this question into perspective, seeing the other protocols that are being used. It's obvious that these chips are not just to just turn you off so you can go to work and turn you back on and you not remember what you did at work. These chips seem to go a lot deeper than that. So I beg the question, would you get that procedure? Especially knowing that there's other things that can be done to your brain with all these protocols that they have. And that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. Those protocols and which one is now being used on Irving. We'll talk about the possibility of Irving being reintegrated and the fact that Milchick seems to be having a rough time as the new manager of the Severed floor. We'll talk about where did this ORTBO really take place and a whole lot more. But before we get into that, I would like to sincerely thank all of you for engaging in the way you did with my last video about episode 4, Woes Hollow. At the time of me recording this, it has over 75,000 views and 4,000 likes, and it's still going. And I appreciate all of the likes, the shares, the comments that made it noticeable to the algorithm. We also reached 10,000 subscribers the other day, and I welcome you all, and I thank you for watching. We're now at over 11,000 just in a couple of days. And you know, that is really a good reward for the time that it takes to make these videos. It really felt good. So thank you for that very much. And with that being said, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff by tapping that screen a couple of times for me. Let's hit that algorithm again by liking, sharing, and getting ready to hop down in the comments. And if you're new here, welcome. This video will have spoilers if you're not caught up to the latest episode. So without further ado, let's cook. All right, now that we've had a chance to digest everything we saw in the Woes Hollow episode, we gotta give the multiple elephants in the room some peanuts. Pause. I mean, we've already addressed the events and even solved the mystery of Heli R, but now we've got to go over some of the questions that this episode left us with. Like, what happens to Irv after his chip is disengaged out there in the tundra? And why was Irv so different? Where the hell is this all taking place at? I know it's supposed to be Dieter's Park or whatever, but where is Dieter's Park? What are those bizarre MDR twins? And are we about to see more of those protocols initiated? And the question we're going to start with is, who was Milchick talking to? I think there are 3 possibilities: Miss Wong, Natalie, and Drummond, who from here on out will be called Evil Hodor. All 3 of these could be a strong possible hit. And even though it's possible, I don't think it's Natalie because her position seems to be more of an HR/PR situation. And Miss Wong would be the most obvious because she works on the Severed floor with Milchick and the other departments, but I don't think it's her either, just because of how Milchick announced himself. So that leaves us with Evil Hodor. Something about the way Milchick said his name indicates to me that he doesn't announce himself to this person like that on a regular basis.
It's Milchick. Remove the Glasgow block now.
And I feel like Miss Wong would have already known who it was, so there wouldn't have been any reason for Milchick to announce himself in the way that he did. So if we scratch off Natalie, who's more of like a HR/PR, that leaves us with Drummond, or Evil Hodor. Moreover, during the conversation about Helena returning to the Severed floor, Helena and Evil Hodor exchanged a look as if she shared with him her concerns about giving control of her body to Heli again. This was at the conference table when Milchick was playing the recording of Mark making it to the speaker. One thing that we do know from this is that the board heard Mark for sure. And I think that's a very important clue, because this is how Miss Cobell knew that Helena was about to mark her out real quick. Daylight reference. Helena said that she was about to have Natalie set up a meeting with the board, and Cobell knew that that was bullshit. Mark didn't have to set up a meeting. He just plugged up the speaker. So this means that the board is just sitting there ready to talk like the old school chat line from the 90s. The fact that Mark just plugged up the speaker and started talking and they heard him proves that this isn't an actual group of people that needed to be assembled. And it, as Natalie refers to the board, is just a plug and play type deal that already's ready to listen to you like Alexa or Siri. Damn, I just realized something. What if the board itself is capable of working the Severance chips? And Milchick announcing himself was a verbal trigger like, "Hey Siri," or "Alexa, set a timer." Maybe, I don't know, but I do think he was talking to Evil Hodor. Now let's talk about those bizarre MDR twins. I think they're probably similar to the animatronic robots that Gwendolyn Wise spoke about at her facility's Perpetuity Wing. Why they were acting like that was probably to appear strange to MDR as a reminder of the things that they know about each other. Helly's head tilted, being a reminder of what she had done, and everybody knew about that. Mark's twin robotically imitated Mark's stance and posture, and we know now that that was him in episode 1 when Mark was running to the wellness room. Irv's twin never even showed up to give directions at all. It just showed up when it was on the cliff with the rest of the robots, or whatever they are. And I know that these things, as Dylan calls them, are called Shadow, Mark, and Helly, etc. But I can't help but to call them twins because we're talking about Kier and his twin. And when I say Mark twin, it kind of makes me think about Mark Twain. Now, I don't know if this was done on purpose, but this thought in my mind made me think about a scene from The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. And if you're familiar with Tom Sawyer, then you know about the infamous whitewashing scene. The wording of this scene has some similarities with what we see our refiners going through. In the context of the scene is when Aunt Polly punishes Tom and makes him whitewash the fence, but he tricks his friends into thinking that it was a fun game or a privilege, and they ended up doing all his work for him. Now, I know you're thinking like, Tom Sawyer, yo, what is this dude talking about? But walk with me for a minute. I'm about to show you something. This scene is pretty much talking about human psychology and social manipulation in order to get someone to do labor. That's what we see here going on with our refiners. Some of the words stood out to me, like hollow, and Tom was actually punished for skipping school and going swimming. But Tom was also exploring some caves, and he was snitched on by his half-brother. Now, the whitewashing part is kind of crazy. Check this out. The whitewashing makes me think of the Milchick Kier paintings, but this stood out to me as well. Why in the hell would they cast this brother right here to play Dylan's twin when they just showed us a couple episodes ago that they could have casted someone that actually looks like Dylan? What was the point of getting this darker skinned brother to play Dylan? I mean, when you get someone to play somebody, don't they actually have to match the phenotype? And the fact that the guy at the door factory damn near looked just like Dylan's twin tells me that they could have casted somebody to play Dylan that actually looked like him. So this had to be done on purpose. There's no doubt about it. But what does it mean? It's crazy because they actually had to put lighter makeup on this guy to match Dylan's complexion. And that's crazy as hell when you think about it, right? First they got Kier out here looking like Garrett Morris, and now they got this shit. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. I'm scratching my head on why they would even do this. What does this mean? Now let's go to the questions about some of those other protocols and what's about to happen to Irv. I think that's kind of intertwined, so let's get into that one real quick. First of all, how the hell did they get Irv and Mark out there on that ice? And if they're turning him off out there in Dieter's Park, then what's next? Do they just drag him to a dolly or something and roll him out there? I think this is where we're going to see another one of these protocols being used. Maybe the freeze frame joint, and probably the clean slate protocol as well, being by what Milchick said to Irv and what was going to happen. pretty much erasing his existence like he never was there. I think we've seen at least 2 of these protocols used for sure. The Glasgow block, and I think we may have seen the branch transfer with the replacement refiners from episode 1. I don't think we'll find out in episode 5 what happens at Dieter's Park, being that Helly is right there and she's not supposed to appear again until episode 6. They might show us this day over again, but what was going on outside while our refiners were on the ORTBO. Kind of like how they did with episode 1 and 2, where they showed us the any perspective in episode 1, and then in episode 2, they showed us the outie perspective. So I think we'll probably get another perspective of the same day. That would be pretty cool. They might even show us moments before the MDR's ORTBO and give us some more detail about Irv, who he's in contact with, and that Bert stalking situation. They might even show us what happened when Irv woke up from banging on Bert's door too. One thing's for sure is that we haven't seen the last of Irv. And I'll let that take us right into the next question. Why was Irv so different from the devoted care follower that we know from season 1? Now, as I stated in my last video, I think that Irv has been reintegrated. Irv is connected to the first title sequence by the black goo that we see Mark dealing with by the garbage can. This was a representation of the paint that Irv finds under his fingernails, and it made its way into the intro. Secondly, the intro sequence doubles down on Irv's face being on that coffee mug. So that's like another connection to Irv. Now, I've been saying that the intro sequences are depicting the effects of reintegration sickness or possible just reintegration. And we know Gemma, Helly, Cobell, multiple boss babies, and baby Kier have all made their way into the new intro, but the only character Ty who was in both of them was Irving with the black goo, and now he's on the coffee cup. They tie this to Mark in the show with the one eye symbolism, and again when Irv tells Mark to stop making goo-goo eyes at Helly. Get it? Goo-goo eyes? Irv being connected to both of those intros and them being about reintegration is a sign that he has or will be reintegrated. So we probably haven't even seen the end of Irv's any yet either. And more to support this is how Irv claims to have gotten a message to his innie after the OTC. One, the fact that the OTC even happened is proof that something is happening to the innie on the severed floor. And Irv, innie, definitely saw those paintings when they came out on the OTC, and now he's creating them on the severed floor. Now, outie Irv also knows that his innie has seen these paintings. He also knows that the innie went through his intel stuff that he had in that locker chest and actually drove a car to Bert's house. So to outie Irv, this is a clear indication that his innie is got some sort of message from him. Now, if he's actively trying to message the innie, this had to be some sort of plan between Irv and whoever he's working with. Otherwise, why leave a message saying that the innie got the message in the first place? Now, let's put this all together real quick and move on to the next question. Irv and Petey both made contact with their innies. How else would Petey have been able to make the map on the outside by that greenhouse that he was staying at? This means that he made contact with his innie and told him to map the place and show it to him. I wouldn't doubt if he actually stood right there in the mirror and talked to him directly. We saw Petey do this already in Mark's bathroom. The outie Petey was in the shower while he was looking at the innie Petey standing in front of the mirror. I think that Irv has been reintegrated, and after that dream, he woke up and used those Navy SEAL skills to find Helena. Because how did he know exactly where she was? He got up and went right to where she was when everybody else was looking for her and him. And this right here is one of the biggest clues that it was outie Irv taking control over the body. Because how did he even know that Milchick would have been able to bring Helly R back at that time and moment? Perhaps Irv has been reintegrated, and by way of who he's working with on the outside, he knows about the different protocols and how they can be used. Because how did he know that he wouldn't end up killing Helena? There's no way that he would have known that they would have been able to shut that protocol off right there. And if that's the case, then it's safe to say that he's probably working with Ragabi. I hope I put that part together for y'all good right there. Let's move on to the next one. Where the hell is Dieters National Park actually located? Okay, I think this place might be under the Lumon building itself. And I talked about this in other videos when I was talking about that so-called Egan replica house. That stop motion animation gave us a lot of information. I pointed out that a siring is a construction term that means to add to an existing structure. And we already know that they have deeper floors other than the Severance level with that export hallway pointing down. Now, I think it's just a simple answer, but I think it's right here on PD's map in the team building wing. I mean, the TB in ORTBO stands for team building. We can also see that this team building area on PD's map has an elevator nearby. This rectangle with the arrows means the door that goes up and down. We see one close to MDR and wellness as well, but you can't miss the one right by the team building wing. This would explain Milchick and Wong just disappearing after dinner like that. Where were their tents if they were actually out there in the wilderness? It's like they just popped up in the middle of a video game or something. Well, at least Milchick did. Also, was this ORTBO actually gonna be for 2 days? I mean, Irv did cut that shit short, but it was one whole day. And did that one whole day actually pass in real time? Or was it manipulated in some kind of way? We did see a time lapse of the sun going down, but who knows? Not only that, in my last video, I said that nobody mentioned how cold it was, and I stand on that. Yes, I know that Irv said he nearly froze to death, but nothing was said the entire day while they were walking through the cold tundra. I mean, you should expect Dylan to say, "Holy fuck, it's cold," or something to that effect, right? Not one of them has said, "Yo, I've never been this cold." And Irv did say he almost froze to death, but the fact that he didn't proves that it wasn't cold out there, because his torch went out. I mean, it was ice on the branches, so he would have definitely had some kind of hypothermia, or he would have had ice on his mustache from breathing and the moisture getting frozen to his face. I know that for a fact. There weren't any signs of anybody being cold at any time. Nobody was shivering. No steam was coming from anybody's mouth. Nobody rubs their hands together when they get to the fire. They didn't take their gloves off and rub their hands together like you see people who are cold do. These things raise an eyebrow and make me wonder if they were really outside. Here's one of the tell signs that Irv wasn't cold at all. The whole damn time when they were walking around in the tundra trying to find the book, and even after they found the book, Irv's left ear was exposed. There's no way that this wasn't done on purpose. Someone would have noticed John Turturro's ear and had him cover it up before they were shooting the scenes. So that ear hanging out like that the whole time they were walking around was done on purpose. And if it wasn't done on purpose, then we would have seen some of the clips where his ear was showing, and then some of them where someone corrected it and they just still had to use those clips and the ear wouldn't have been showing. But it was showing the entire time until they got to the campfire. Nobody in that kind of cold is gonna wear a hat and leave one of their ears hanging out. The ear was constantly exposed, and that was by design. Now, speaking of Irv's left ear, I've noticed some things about left ears on this show. Gretchen tells Dylan to make sure to remember Merrick's ear thing, and she's specific about the left ear. Another slick way they pointed it out, and I'm sure everybody missed this unless you're as old as I am, when Cobell is in her car and turns on her tape deck, she pans all the music to the right. Now, at first glance, it looks like she's turning up the music, but she actually is turning the left and right balance button. Now, I know I'm showing my age with this one, but hopefully we got some old heads in the comment that know what I'm talking about. This knob that she's turning is not the volume knob. It's the balance knob. That's why it has a fin to determine like right from left. Let me know if any of you guys have noticed other kind of left ear symbolism in the show. And I'm calling it symbolism because in the occult and Freemasonry, the left ears represent esoteric teachings or information that is not meant for the masses. And covering the left ear or whispering into the left ear represents the transmission of sacred or hidden knowledge. And we see Irv have a whole revelation right there in a dream. So let's expect to see some more left ear symbolism. And let me know down in the comments if any of you have noticed something that I didn't notice as far as the left ear symbolism. Another connection that I made between Cobell and the Georges or Dylan's family is the cookies. Gretchen reminds Dylan to make the cookies for Jim's class. It was kind of crazy because Miss Selvig was making cookies for Mark and said that she was, quote, experimenting with chamomile. Chamomile is also used in dream teas or infused sachets placed under pillows to enhance dream clarity and recollection. And a cup of chamomile tea before sleep can relax the body and make dream recollection easier. Let's not forget that Cobell wanted Mark to recall Gemma on the severed floor. Maybe that's why she put herbs in the cookies so that they would go through his system and later show on in him when he goes to work on the severed floor, and he would have some kind of recollection. Now, Fern can also have this effect, and it's also related to dream recollection and the spirit dream realm. And Fern is also the name of Mark's mother. And seeing Miss Selvig experimenting with chamomile says that she was maybe trying to enhance Mark's recalling of something. Clearly, the rest of her actions were experimenting on Mark and Gemma anyway, and we saw that right there on the severed floor. But let's get back to that location. I got a little sidetracked, my bad. We can connect a portion of the intro with the icy lake to Dieter's National Park, and it's seen right here in the fourth appendix while Helly's reading it. The book shows us the frozen lake, but the intro gives us a bit of information that might be revealing about the nature of this park. Mark and his innie can be seen standing on a piece of ice in that lake. The innie's head then inflates and starts to rise, and Mark hitches a ride on it, and it takes him to the top, and then he goes into his own head, pause, and it inflates his head, but then it goes back down to normal. This part gives us the most obvious clue that Mark is sick because we see the innie having to carry him, but it's also where we get information about the possible location of this lake and Dieter's National Park. I believe that it symbolizes how the park may be underground below the surface, and as we see the balloon travel to the top and still be on the severed floor when it gets to Mark. Then on that severed floor, there are several innies that are helping Mark. One lifts up the elevator door like it's a curtain, and the other one picks him up and takes him through. The reintegration sickness seems to have an effect on the outie more than the innie, because peep how Petey was when he was having his reintegration sickness episodes. When he's the innie, he's sharp, communicates just fine. But when he's the outie, he's seen on the severed floor, he looks sickly, tired, and that's why Dylan said that Petey was breathing funny. Even when the outie was taking a shower, he seemed weak and tired, but the innie in the mirror was just fine and actually seemed concerned about the outie, like he knew what was going on. Irv, on the other hand, may be reintegrated and has followed Ragabi's instructions and was able to help the innie expose Helena, because I'm sure he knows that Helena is an Egan on the outside. He's got to know that if he knows other severed employees and the locations, their houses and everything. He knows some shit. Now, let's talk about Milchick for a second. Here we go with another screw up on his watch as manager. Now, if Cobell was fired for not letting the board know about Helly's elevator incident, then what happens to Milchick for all of these fumbles back to back like this? I mean, Helena almost drowned, so I'm curious to see what they do with Milchick. Also, shout out to Meredith Musin, who dropped in the comments and revealed that the anagram of Dieter Egan is AI generated. That's super crazy. And you can drop down in the comments too and give some feedback. Would you get the severance procedure done yourself? If not, why? And if yes, definitely tell us if you're comfortable. Also, tell me what y'all think about them hiring this guy to play Dylan's twin after already showing us that they could cast somebody that looks like him. What does that mean? I mean, after the Milchick Cure paintings, what does this mean? Let me know in the comments if you're scratching your head like me. Pause. If you like this video, go ahead and tap that screen for me a few times by liking, sharing, and dropping down into the comments. And if you're not subscribed, hopefully this will be the video that makes you do it. Anyway, just a little something to think about while we wait on the next episode. That's all for my video today. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.